Hey everyone, Yoni Katz here, Rabbi Manis Friedman's biggest fan, and we're back at it. We're trying to get to the bottom of this question. Does God need us? Does God need our mitzvahs? Obviously, the conventional point of view by most religious Orthodox Jews is God is complete in and of himself. He's not affected by anything we do. He's perfect. He's beyond all this. And but you're going to get it. You're going to get punished if you go against what he says. Not that anything affects him. Let's figure that one out at a later time. But here we have got a great clip from Rabbi Breitowitz again on behalf of Or Sameach, as you can see on the logo there in the upper left corner. So let's jump right into it. Let's hear what he says. He's answering a question that was posed to him. What does it mean that we're made in the image of God? And let's hear what he has to say, and let's pick it apart.
It refers to that. Now, Rav Chaim Volozhiner says an additional aspect of this. In fact, the whole Shar Aleph of Nefesh HaChaim is devoted to the idea that man is also godlike in another way, because God created a spiritual universe in which all of the worlds and all of the levels are infused with divine energy based on the actions of men. When I do good things, I bring godliness, not just into this world, but into the whole universe. I do bad things, I destroy universes. So man is like God in the sense that we create and we destroy. You have to understand, from a Kabbalistic perspective, what we do is immensely powerful. I mean, normally you say like this. Normally you look at it as a one-to-one thing. I do something bad, God's going to punish me in one way. I do something good, God is going to reward me. Meaning, my mitzvos affect me and my averos affect me.
Perfectly said. So as he says, normally, it's a very sort of self-absorbed sort of way of looking at God and mitzvahs. Like if I do something good, I get rewarded. If I don't do something good, I get punished. What makes something good in the first place? I imagine from our point of view, we know something good is something that God likes and something bad is something that God doesn't like. But on a very basic point of view, he's saying it's what it does for us or it doesn't do for us.
That's how you might look at it superficially. So I got
beautiful word, superficially, very low level, very chitzonistic, as we would say.
Got to be on good behavior, so God will treat me good.
Yeah.
And I got to avoid bad behavior, so God will not treat me bad. In Kabbalah, it's a totally different game. When you miss Kriya Shema, Bisman, it's not simply, oh, I did an Avera today. It's like, I wiped out 10 million worlds. It's like I started a nuclear war.
Whatever that means, like I wiped out 10 million worlds or nuclear war. What that actually means, we're not sure, but he's making a good point that what we do is immensely, as he said so eloquently, immensely powerful.
Wiped out half the world. And I do mitzvahs. I bring life to the world. Every single thing we do has enormous power. And in many, many ways, God created a system where he depends on us. Hashem's hands are tied until we release him by mitzvos and Torah, which release the Shefa. Rav Chaim Volozhiner says, and this...
So here's the main point, I guess. God created a system where his hands are tied. What? He created a system, meaning his hands are not really tied, but he made as if they were tied. And now he depends on us. And if we don't do it, or we do it, it's immensely powerful. We create worlds or destroy worlds, just like God can create and destroy worlds. And we're made in his image. So you see, first of all, people that attack the idea that God needs, you see clearly that the difference between Kabbalah and normative Judaism, like he said, the standard way, I think was the word that he used, was that we do a mitzvah, we get rewarded, we do a sin, we get punished. Now Kabbalah came along and gave us a whole different insight and says it's what we do is immensely powerful, not to us, but to the universe. And where Hasidus came along, it took it to a whole new level, which is no problem because Kabbalah took it to a whole new level. So why can't Hasidus? And Chabad Hasidus explains that God didn't create a system and he says, now it matters to me and I can give you Shefa. It's not a system which is created. The mitzvah, the soul, is essentially part of him. It's not something which had to be created. It's not part of the creation. It's part of the creator. Like God says by Mount Sinai, Anoichi, this is me. The Torah and the Jews and making this world a dwelling place is essential to me. It's not a created system where I made as if my hands were tied and now it's all sort of make-believe, because it's still superficial, because it's all make-believe if you believe that.
Sounds like a Hasidic word, but it's mamish Rav Chaim of Volozhin. Da ma lamaila mimcha. Pirkei Avos. Now, what does that mean in simple English? Know what is above you, meaning be aware that God is above you. Right? That's the translation. Listen to what Rav Chaim Volozhner has a Hasidic twist on it. Da ma shalamala.
I just have to stop there. It has a Chassidish twist. Whenever any one of these rabbis says that, it usually seems to infer something more personal. Chassidish means, it's a little more heartsick, a little more varm, a little more warm, a little more romantic, personal, because that's exactly what Chassidus came to introduce. That this is way more personal than I ever thought. Not a created system, but this is actually essential. It's not make-believe. It's not the Matrix. God created it as if it matters that God's hands are sort of tied, but not really tied. No, he's absolutely dependent upon us making this world into the type of world that he needs it to be. So he's quoting something which is quoted in Chabad, Chassidus, and I think in the Hayom Yom, da ma lamala, instead of being mimach, know which is above you, but rather know that what is above is mimcha, not mimach, from you, meaning God is dependent upon you.
Know that everything from above, comma, mimcha, is from you. You are the ones who bring everything from above. That's a totally different twist. So that's the idea of Tselem Elokim. Man is God. Man releases the divine energy into the world by their Torah and by their mitzvahs. Now,
beautiful. So we're getting there. Of course, a rabbi from Or Sameach saying, Da malamayla mimcha. Know that what happens above is affected directly by you. And what's above? God. So this is just making it easier for us. The idea that what we do is necessary to God essentially is very basic. I mean, you ask yourself, when did things go so far off track that you could ask somebody, are our mitzvahs necessary to God? And they could say, no, God's complete in and of himself. Nothing affects him. He's above all this. Or on a lower level, it affects him. Really? Thousands of years, Jews have been having self-sacrifice in the stories. And this is all to tell you that God is really above all this. I mean, it's so off track. It's so like such nonsense. And I think that's why Chassidus had to come along, because after thousands of years of exile, what do you expect is going to happen? There has to be some distance, I think, in the relationship, sort of to maintain sort of the basics of it. But, the personal side and the romantic side will get lost because of the bitterness of exile. So I love this clip. Again, just to summarize, Rabbi Breitowitz was making a distinction between Kabbalah, Chaim Volozhner explaining that what we do affects the world, unlike standard Judaism, which it just affects you. And now Chabad Chassidus comes along and says, no, we're not destroying worlds or creating worlds. We're talking about God. Perhaps a mitzvah makes him infinitely happy, and sins destroy him. So is he affected? We can't imagine how much he's affected. I'll put the full post to the link, in the YouTube description if someone wants to watch the whole class. Thank you very much. Send your angry comments or your angry questions to rabbiyonikatz@gmail.com or in the YouTube comments. If there's anyone out there who's listening to this and wants to show me where I'm going wrong, or where they think Rabbi Manas Freeman has it all wrong, or where they think Chabad Chassidus has it all wrong, and that God is above all this, he's only a created system he made as if it matters. He made it if his hands are tied. I'd love to hear from you. God bless you all. And know, da malamaila mimcha. Know that God is affected and it all depends on you. Bye-bye.